I'm Claudia, 28 years old, and this morning I woke up to something that still makes my stomach turn. My hand touched my scalp, and I felt bare skin where thick hair should have been. I remembered hearing strange noises last night, but Marcus had assured me it was nothing, just the house settling. But when I checked our security camera footage, my blood ran cold. There was my mother-in-law, Eleanor Scissors, glinting in the darkness, sneaking through my bedroom like a thief in the night. Before I continue this nightmare, I want to know where you're watching from today. Please hit that like button and subscribe if you've ever dealt with toxic in-laws. And trust me, what started 6 months ago as innocent wedding planning turned into something I never could have imagined. 6 months ago, I thought I was living in a fairy tale. Marcus and I had just gotten married after 3 beautiful years of dating. He was everything I'd dreamed of in a partner. At 32, he was a successful architect with his own firm, came from a wealthy Connecticut family, and treated me like I was his entire world. Or so I thought. His mother, Eleanor, was 58 years old and a partner at one of the most prestigious law firms in the state. When we first met, she seemed absolutely charming. She welcomed me with open arms, told me how happy she was that Marcus had found someone who made him smile the way I did. She even cried happy tears at our engagement party, holding my hands and telling me she'd always wanted a daughter. The wedding planning started out beautifully. Eleanor offered to help with everything, and initially I was grateful. My own mother had passed away 5 years earlier, and having that maternal figure felt healing. But then came the first request that seemed odd. Eleanor insisted I wear my hair a very specific way for the wedding, long flowing curls that would cascade down my back. She showed me picture after picture of this hairstyle, all from different angles. I had been considering an updo, something elegant and classic, but I wanted to keep the peace. This was supposed to be a joining of families after all. So I agreed, and spent months growing my hair out, taking special vitamins she bought for me, using specific shampoos and conditioners she insisted would give me the perfect texture. The red flags started small, so small I almost missed them. Eleanor would comment on my appearance every single time she saw me. Not cruel comments, not exactly, but observations that left me feeling examined. She'd run her fingers through my hair and sigh, saying things like how it reminded her of someone. Then one day at Sunday dinner, she let it slip. Marcus's ex-girlfriend, Sophia, had gorgeous long blonde hair that Eleanor had absolutely adored. I'm a brunette naturally, with hair that has just a hint of wave. Eleanor started suggesting ever so gently that I might look stunning as a blonde. She'd bring over photos from magazines, all of blonde women, and hold them up next to my face. Marcus would just laugh it off whenever I mentioned it bothered me. His favorite response became my least favorite phrase. Mom just wants what's best for us. The visits started increasing after the wedding. What had been weekly Sunday dinners became twice-weekly drop-ins. Eleanor had a key, of course, because Marcus insisted his mother should always be welcome in our home. She'd arrive unannounced while I was working from home, letting herself in with a cheerful call that always made me jump. She'd walk through our house like she was conducting an inspection. I'd find her rearranging our furniture, moving the couch to a different angle, switching out the curtains I'd chosen for ones she'd bought. When I tried to explain that I liked things the way they were, she'd pat my hand condescendingly and tell me I'd understand good taste when I was older. The comments about my career started next. I'm a graphic designer and I'm good at what I do. I have my own clients, I make good money, and I love the creative freedom. But to Eleanor, it was a little hobby that I played at while Marcus did the real work. She'd make these observations at family gatherings, always with that sweet smile that never reached her eyes. When I was your age, she'd say I was already a senior associate at my firm. I was working 60-hour weeks and building a real career. But I suppose not everyone has that kind of ambition. The room would go quiet, and Marcus would quickly change the subject, but he never defended me. Not once. The family dinners became torture. Eleanor would dominate every conversation, turning it back to Sophia somehow. Did you know Sophia just made partner at her firm in Boston? Sophia sent me the loveliest Christmas card. I saw Sophia's mother at the club, and she mentioned Sophia is engaged to a senator's son. Every accomplishment I shared was met with a story about how Sophia had done something better. Marcus started getting irritated when I brought it up. He'd tell me I was being too sensitive, that I was imagining competition where there wasn't any. His mother was just catching up on old friends, he'd say. Why was I so insecure about a woman he hadn't dated in 5 years, but I could see it in Eleanor's eyes every time she looked at me. I was the consolation prize the woman her son settled for when he couldn't have the one Eleanor had chosen. 3 months after our wedding, Eleanor's visits increased to twice a week minimum. But these weren't social calls anymore. They were interventions disguised as gifts. She'd arrive with shopping bags full of things she insisted I needed. Diet books wrapped in ribbon hair treatments that would make my hair grow faster and thicker, makeup that would brighten my complexion because I looked so tired all the time. She started timing her visits for when Marcus wasn't home. She'd show up right after he left for work, saying she wanted girl time with her daughter-in-law. But it felt more like surveillance. She'd go through my closet while I was trying to work, pulling out clothes and holding them up with that disapproving frown. "This makes you look heavy," she'd say, about my favorite dress. "This color washes you out completely. Oh, honey, you're not 20 anymore. You can't wear things like this." By the time she left, half my wardrobe would be in garbage bags by the door, clothes she deemed unacceptable for the wife of her son. One afternoon, I came out of a client video call to find Eleanor in my home office reading through my emails on my computer. My personal private client correspondence was on the screen, and she was scrolling through it like it was the morning newspaper. When I confronted her, she immediately turned it around on me. "I was just trying to help your little business," she said, emphasizing the word little like it was something shameful. "I thought maybe I could give you some professional advice considering my experience." "You really should be more careful with your tone in these emails, dear. You come across as quite aggressive." When Marcus came home that night, I was ready for a serious conversation about boundaries. But Eleanor had already called him, crying about how I'd attacked her for trying to help. "She was just trying to be supportive of your work," Marcus said, looking at me with disappointment. "Why do you have to be so ungrateful? She's trying to bond with you." The next week, Eleanor announced she'd scheduled grooming sessions for us to do together. Every Thursday, we'd have appointments at her salon for hair treatments, her dermatologist for skin consultations, her nutritionist for meal planning. She'd already put deposits down, already told everyone at the club about our special bonding time. When I canceled the appointments, Eleanor called Marcus in tears. She told him I was refusing her help, that I was deliberately driving a wedge between them. That night led to our first real fight. Marcus accused me of not trying to be part of his family, of being jealous of his close relationship with his mother. He actually said the words, "She's done everything to welcome you, and you throw it back in her face." Things escalated when Eleanor started planting seeds of doubt about my faithfulness. She'd take innocent text messages from my male colleagues completely out of context. She'd show Marcus a screenshot of my business partner, Dave, saying he'd enjoyed our lunch meeting, and suddenly it became suspicious that I was having lunch with another man. Never mind that it was a working lunch with 3 other people present. The violation of privacy reached its peak when I found a hidden camera in our bedroom. It was small, tucked into a new picture frame Eleanor had given us as a gift. When I showed it to Marcus, shaking with rage and violation, he had the audacity to defend her. She mentioned being worried about break-ins in the neighborhood. She probably just wanted to make sure we were safe. Safe. That's what he called his mother filming us in our most private moments. I demanded he set boundaries immediately or I would. He promised to talk to her, swore he'd make her understand she'd gone too far. I should have known better. I should have seen what was coming. After the camera incident, Eleanor's fixation took a disturbing turn toward my physical appearance, specifically my hair. I'd gotten a layered cut, just trying to manage the length I'd grown for the wedding, making it more suitable for everyday life. When Eleanor saw it, she literally screamed. "You ruined it!" she shrieked, reaching out to touch the shorter layers like they personally offended her. "All that beautiful length, all that potential, and you just chopped it off like it meant nothing." Her reaction was so extreme that even Marcus looked uncomfortable, though he still didn't say anything to defend my right to cut my own hair. That's when she revealed something that made my skin crawl. She pulled out her phone and showed me a folder of photos. All of Sophia. All focused on her long blonde hair. Different angles, different styles, but always that flowing blonde hair. She'd been saving these for years, she admitted, hoping Marcus would come to his senses and get back together with the woman Eleanor had personally chosen for him. Marcus tried to brush it off later, but he did admit something that hurt almost as much as the photos. His mother had always hoped he'd marry Sophia. She'd introduced them actually at a charity gala specifically because she thought Sophia would be the perfect wife for her son. When they broke up, Eleanor had been devastated. She'd apparently spent years trying to orchestrate reunions. I started learning more about Eleanor's past behavior from unexpected sources. Patricia Marcus's younger sister pulled me aside at a family barbecue. She looked around nervously before whispering that Eleanor had done this before. Marcus's first serious girlfriend before Sophia had left him because of Eleanor's treatment. The girl had actually moved to another state to get away from the family. Our neighbors started mentioning odd things too. Eleanor had been asking them about my daily routine. When did I leave for errands? Did I have regular appointments? Who visited me during the day? She'd frame it as concern, saying she wanted to surprise me with lunch, but could never catch me at home, even though she knew I worked from home most days. The family dinners became even more bizarre. Eleanor started bringing hair extensions and wigs, actual wigs, to dinner. She'd insist I try them on right there at the dining table in front of Marcus's father, Richard, Patricia, and her husband. She'd style them on me while everyone ate their soup, talking about how much better I looked with longer, fuller hair. The humiliation was complete when she brought a blonde wig one night. "Just try it," she begged. "I want to see something." When I refused, she started crying, accusing me of not caring about her feelings, of deliberately rejecting her attempts to help me. Marcus actually asked me to just try it on to make her happy. The fact that my husband wanted me to wear a wig to look like his ex-girlfriend seemed to escape him entirely. After that dinner, I set a hard boundary. Eleanor was no longer allowed in our house without an explicit invitation. I changed the locks and installed a security system that would alert my phone if anyone entered. Marcus fought me on it for weeks, calling me paranoid and controlling. But eventually he agreed, or at least I thought he did. What I didn't know was that he'd immediately had a spare key made and given it to his mother. He told her to be discreet about it, to only use it for emergencies. In his mind, he was keeping everyone happy. In reality, he was setting the stage for the worst violation of my life. Eleanor started calling Marcus, crying every night, claiming I was stealing her baby boy, that I was turning him against his family. She'd text him constantly during work, during our date nights, during everything. Marcus started spending more and more time at his mother's house to keep the peace. He'd leave after dinner and not come back until late, saying his mom needed him. I began documenting everything. Every text, every uninvited visit I knew about, every comment and action. I installed my own security camera system throughout the house without telling Marcus. Something in my gut told me I'd need evidence of what was happening. That instinct would save me in ways I couldn't have imagined. The night that changed everything started like any other stressful evening in my new reality. I'd been having trouble sleeping for weeks, the constant anxiety and tension making it impossible to relax. My doctor had prescribed a mild sleeping medication, and I'd finally decided to take it, desperate for just one night of real rest. Marcus had told me he had a late meeting with clients about a new commercial building project. He'd kissed me goodbye after dinner, told me not to wait up, that these contractor negotiations could go until well past midnight. I took my medication around 10, did my nighttime routine, and fell into the first deep sleep I'd had in months. According to the security footage I watched later in horror, Eleanor entered our house at exactly 2:17 in the morning. She used the key I didn't know existed, disabled the alarm with the code Marcus had given her, and walked through my home like she owned it. She was carrying a small bag, and she moved with purpose straight to our bedroom. The night vision camera in our bedroom captured everything in sickening detail. She approached the bed slowly, carefully, like a predator stalking prey. She pulled professional hairdressing scissors from her bag, the kind with the long, sharp blades that could cut through thick sections of hair in one smooth motion. She stood over me for a full minute just watching me sleep. Then she began her work. With practiced precision, she lifted sections of my hair and cut them at different lengths. She wasn't just cutting my hair. She was destroying it. Some pieces were cut down to the scalp, others were left jagged and uneven. She worked methodically, moving around the bed to reach different angles, occasionally stepping back to admire her handiwork, like an artist with a canvas. The most chilling part was what she whispered while she worked. The camera's audio picked up her quiet words clearly. "Now you'll never be prettier than Sophia. Marcus will see what you really are. Just an ordinary girl who tricked him into marriage. Without your hair, you're nothing special at all." She took photos with her phone, the flash briefly illuminating the room. That's what had partially woken me through the medication fog. In my drugged state, I'd mumbled something asking what was happening. And that's when I heard Marcus's voice, clear as day on the recording, saying from somewhere off camera, "Nothing, honey. Go back to sleep. It's just a bad dream." My husband had been there. He'd been in our bedroom watching his mother cut my hair while I slept drugged and defenseless. He'd been there, and he'd told me to go back to sleep. The next morning, I woke up slowly, still groggy from the medication. I reached up to push my hair out of my face and felt skin. Bare skin where hair should have been. I stumbled to the bathroom mirror and couldn't comprehend what I was seeing. My hair, which had taken so long to grow, which had been past my shoulders, was destroyed. Bald patches scattered across my scalp chunks, missing what remained hanging in jagged, uneven strands. I stood there shaking, trying to make sense of it, when I remembered the flash of light from the night before. My phone. I needed to check my phone. The security app icon seemed to pulse as I opened it, my fingers trembling so badly I could barely enter the password. And there it was, the entire assault captured in high definition. I walked to the kitchen in a daze where Marcus was sitting at the breakfast bar drinking coffee and reading news on his tablet like it was any other morning. He looked up when I entered, and his expression didn't change at all. "Morning, honey," he said casually. "Did you sleep well? That medication really knocked you out?" Without saying a word, I held up my phone and played the video. I watched his face as he watched his mother destroy my hair. I waited for the shock, the outrage, the protectiveness that should have come from seeing his wife violated in her own bed. Instead, he sighed and set down his coffee cup. "Look," he said slowly, like he was explaining something to a child. "Mom was just trying to fix your hair while you slept. She thought if she evened it out from that terrible haircut you got, you'd wake up and be happy. She was trying to help. I couldn't speak. I could barely breathe." He was looking at my destroyed hair, at the bald patches and jagged remains, and he was calling it help. When I finally found my voice, all I could say was, "You were there. You were in the room. You watched her do this to me." He had the decency to look slightly uncomfortable then, but not ashamed. Never ashamed. Someone had to make sure she didn't wake you up. You needed your sleep. And honestly, honey, it's not that bad. Hair grows back. You're completely overreacting to what was meant to be a nice gesture. That's when the doorbell rang. 3 cheerful chimes, and then Eleanor's voice calling out as she let herself in with that key I wasn't supposed to know about. "Good morning, family. I brought coffee and donuts from that place you like, Claudia." She walked into the kitchen with a bright smile, carrying a box of pastries like she was the perfect mother-in-law, bringing breakfast to her loved ones. Her eyes landed on my destroyed hair, and her smile turned into something cruel and satisfied. "Oh dear," she said with false concern. "Rough night. That's quite the bad hair day. Maybe you should consider wearing one of those wigs I brought over. They'd cover that right up." I started crying then. Not gentle tears, but body-shaking sobs of rage and violation and disbelief. Marcus actually had the audacity to tell me to calm down. "You're getting hysterical over nothing," he said. "It's just hair, Claudia. You're acting like someone hurt you." "Someone did hurt me," I managed to say through the tears. "Your mother assaulted me while I slept, and you helped her. You watched her do it, and did nothing to stop her." Eleanor's mask dropped then just for a moment. Her voice went cold and hard. "Assault. Don't be dramatic. I was trying to fix the mess you made of yourself. If you hadn't ruined your hair with that ridiculous haircut, none of this would have been necessary. I was trying to make you presentable for your husband. My hands were shaking as I called the police, but I forced myself to stay calm enough to explain what had happened. I had video evidence of someone entering my home and assaulting me while I slept. That should be enough, I thought. That had to be enough. 2 officers arrived within 20 minutes, and I showed them the security footage immediately. They watched Eleanor enter with the key, watched her cut my hair while I slept, watched her take photos of her crime. Then they looked at Marcus, who immediately jumped into damage control mode. "Officers, this is just a family disagreement that's gotten out of hand," he said in his most professional voice. "My mother has a key that I gave her. She's always been welcome in our home." This was a misguided attempt to help my wife with her appearance, nothing more. The older officer looked at my destroyed hair, then at the video, then at Marcus. "So you gave your mother permission to enter the home?" Marcus nodded. "And you're saying this was meant to be helpful?" Marcus nodded again, adding that his mother had been a hairdresser in college, which was a complete lie. The officers exchanged glances, and I knew I'd lost before they even spoke. "Ma'am," the younger one said, "this appears to be a domestic issue. Since your husband gave his mother access to the home and isn't pressing charges, and since no physical injury occurred beyond the haircut, we recommend family counseling to work through these disputes." "No physical injury," I repeated in disbelief. "She cut my hair off while I was unconscious." "That's assault. That's a crime." But they were already closing their notebooks, suggesting I stay with friends if I felt unsafe, recommending marriage counseling to work through the family dynamics. As soon as they left, I went to our bedroom and started packing. Marcus followed me, alternating between minimizing what happened and accusing me of overreacting. "You're really going to break up our family over hair," he kept saying. "Do you know how insane that sounds? My mother made a mistake trying to help you, and you're ready to throw away our marriage." I pulled out suitcases and started throwing clothes in, not caring about folding or organizing. Eleanor had followed us to the bedroom and stood in the doorway, fake tears streaming down her face. "I was only trying to help," she wailed. She looked so unkempt, so unladylike. "I wanted her to be beautiful for you, Marcus. I'm so sorry if I went too far." That's when I revealed that I'd been recording our conversation on my phone since the police left. Eleanor's fake tears stopped immediately, and her face transformed into something ugly and honest. "Fine," she spat. "You want the truth? You'll never be good enough for my son. You're a mediocre nobody who somehow tricked him into marriage. I tried to fix you to make you into someone worthy of the family name, but you can't polish trash." Marcus stood there listening to his mother call me trash, and he said nothing. He didn't defend me. He didn't even look surprised. That's when I found the text messages on his phone which he'd left unlocked on the dresser. The thread with his mother from the night before made everything crystal clear. "Mom, maybe tonight's intervention will finally make her listen to you," he'd written at 11:45. "She took the sleeping pills so she won't wake up. You can fix that disaster she calls a haircut. Maybe seeing it done properly will make her understand she needs your guidance." Eleanor had replied with heart emojis, "And thanks for being such a good son." Sophia never would have needed this kind of help. I held up his phone, showing him his own messages, and watched the color drain from his face. "You planned this together," I said quietly. "You drugged me and let your mother assault me because you think I need to be fixed. You've been plotting against me in my own home." Marcus tried to snatch the phone, but I'd already forwarded the screenshots to myself. "That's not what it looks like," he stammered. "I was just trying to find a compromise. Mom was going to do something anyway. At least this way you were asleep and didn't have to deal with the stress." I called my best friend Jessica while they watched, telling her I needed somewhere to stay immediately. Marcus moved to block the bedroom door when I tried to leave with my suitcases. "You can't just leave," he said, his voice getting harder. "This is your home. We're married. You can't walk out over something this stupid." "Watch me," I said, looking him straight in the eye. "And if you don't move right now, my next call is back to the police, and this time I'll be pressing charges for false imprisonment." He stepped aside, but Eleanor couldn't resist one more shot as I walked past her. "Good riddance," she called after me. You were never worthy of him anyway. Sophia is still single, you know. Marcus can finally have the wife he deserves. I stopped at the front door and turned back to look at them one last time. Marcus was comforting his crying mother, rubbing her back and telling her everything would be okay. He wasn't coming after me. He wasn't trying to stop me. He was choosing her just like he always had. Jessica took one look at my butchered hair and burst into tears herself, but they were tears of rage on my behalf. "We're going to destroy them," she said, hugging me carefully like I might break. "But first, we're going to fix this." She took me to her friend who was a real hairdresser, not someone who lied about it to the police. There was nothing to do but shave it all off and start fresh. As the clippers buzzed away the jagged remains, I felt something unexpected. Freedom. Each pass of the razor was removing evidence of Eleanor's control of Marcus's betrayal of months of trying to be someone I wasn't. That evening, with my newly shaved head, I made the decision that would change everything. I posted the security footage on social media with a detailed explanation of what had happened. I included the screenshots of Marcus and Eleanor's messages, the photos of my destroyed hair, and a simple question. Is this what love looks like? Within an hour, the post had 1,000 shares. By morning, it had 3 million views. Comments poured in from women around the world, sharing their own stories of abusive in-laws and complicit partners. The hashtag Justice for Claudia started trending. Local news stations began calling, wanting to interview me about the assault. Eleanor's law firm saw the viral video by Monday morning. A partner at a prestigious firm couldn't have that kind of publicity. She was placed on immediate administrative leave pending an investigation into her conduct. The State Bar Association opened their own inquiry after hundreds of people filed complaints about her fitness to practice law. Marcus's architecture firm was flooded with emails and calls from people expressing their disgust. Clients began pulling their contracts, not wanting to be associated with someone who would drug his wife and allow his mother to assault her. The commercial project he'd supposedly been at a meeting for that night canceled their contract within 48 hours. Their country club, where Eleanor had lorded her status over everyone for decades, revoked her membership after other members complained they felt unsafe around someone who would break into someone's home and assault them while they slept. The humiliation of being escorted out was captured by another member and posted online, adding to Eleanor's public downfall. Marcus sent me dozens of texts, each more desperate than the last. "Take down the post. You're ruining our lives. This has gone too far. We can work this out privately. Please, Claudia, you're destroying everything we built together." But I was building something new. I filed for divorce and requested a restraining order against both Marcus and Eleanor. My attorney was brilliant, and in a twist of poetic justice, she happened to be Eleanor's biggest rival in the legal community. Someone Eleanor had tried to sabotage years ago, and who was all too happy to take my case pro bono for the publicity. During the divorce proceedings, my attorney discovered that Marcus had been hiding assets in accounts his mother helped him set up. The prenuptial agreement I'd signed, which Eleanor had insisted on, became void due to the fraud. What Marcus thought would be a simple separation turned into a financial reckoning. My graphic design business exploded with new clients who wanted to support me. I redesigned my entire professional focus, creating websites and branding specifically for survivors of domestic abuse and toxic relationships. Within a month, I had more work than I could handle and had to hire 2 assistants. I started a blog documenting my healing journey, and it resonated with thousands of people. The ad revenue alone covered my legal fees, and speaking engagements started coming in. Organizations wanted to hear about recognizing covert abuse and the importance of trusting your instincts when something feels wrong. Patricia reached out to me privately, offering to testify about Eleanor's history of abuse. She revealed stories from their childhood that made my experience seem mild in comparison. Eleanor had tormented Patricia's friends, sabotaged her relationships, and tried to control every aspect of her life until Patricia moved across the country to escape. The most unexpected support came from Richard, Eleanor's ex-husband and Marcus's father. He'd been silent during the marriage, but now he wanted to speak. He called me one evening, his voice heavy with regret and recognition. Claudia, he said slowly, I owe you an apology. I watched Eleanor do to you what she did to me for 20 years. The controlling, the manipulation, the constant comparisons to other people. I stayed silent because I thought it wasn't my place anymore, but I was a coward. I'm sorry I didn't warn you. Richard offered to provide documentation for my divorce proceedings, including records of Eleanor's psychological abuse during their marriage that had been sealed in their divorce. He had evidence of her pattern of behavior going back decades, including psychiatric evaluations that suggested personality disorders she'd refused to address. My hair began growing back slowly, first as soft fuzz, then as short spikes that made me look fierce in a way I'd never been before. I kept it short, even as it grew a daily reminder that I'd survived and rebuilt. Each morning when I looked in the mirror, I saw someone Eleanor and Marcus had tried to break but couldn't. 3 months into the divorce proceedings, Marcus lost the promotion he'd been working toward for 2 years. His reputation in the industry was destroyed. Eleanor was officially disbarred after the investigation found multiple ethics violations beyond just my assault. Her carefully built career crumbled in weeks, decades of work undone by one night of cruelty she thought she could get away with. It had been 3 months since the divorce was finalized, and I'd gotten everything. The house, a substantial settlement, and most importantly, my freedom and self-respect. Eleanor had been disbarred completely, her legal career destroyed beyond repair. Marcus had lost his promotion, and most of his major clients, his reputation in shambles. I was working from my home office, my successful business thriving beyond anything I'd imagined when my security system alerted me to movement at the front door. On the camera feed, I saw them. Marcus and Eleanor standing on the porch of what was now my house, looking like shadows of their former selves. Marcus had lost weight, his usually perfect appearance disheveled. Eleanor looked older, defeated, her designer clothes replaced with simple, off-the-rack pieces. They were holding hands like two lost children, and for a moment I just watched them through the camera, remembering all the pain they'd caused. I could have ignored them, but I wanted them to see who I'd become without them. I opened the door wearing a successful businesswoman's outfit, my short hair styled perfectly, looking every inch the confident woman they'd tried to prevent me from being. The shock on their faces at my transformation was worth the discomfort of seeing them again. Claudia Marcus started, and I saw tears actually running down his face. Real tears this time, not the manipulative kind I'd seen so many times before. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I choose you. I choose you over my mother, over everything. Please, can we just talk? Eleanor stepped forward, and I noticed her hands were shaking. I need help, she said quietly, the words seemingly painful for her to speak. I've been seeing a therapist. I've been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder and severe codependency issues. I'm sick, Claudia, and I made you suffer for it. I'm so deeply sorry. I recorded them on my phone, making sure I had evidence of this visit in case I needed it later. Then I responded calmly without anger because I'd moved past anger into something more powerful. Indifference. Your apologies don't erase what you did to me, I said evenly. Eleanor, you assaulted me in my sleep. You tried to destroy my self-worth, my marriage, my entire life, because I wasn't the woman you picked for your son. And Marcus, you don't get to choose me now. You chose your mother every single day of our marriage. You chose her when you gave her that key, when you planned that attack, when you watched her cut my hair and told me to go back to sleep. Marcus fell to his knees on my porch, actually sobbing now. I know, he cried. I know what I did was unforgivable. But I love you. I've always loved you. I was weak and controlled and stupid, but I've learned. I've cut her out of my life. I've been in therapy too. Please just give me one more chance. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. Eleanor's mask cracked then just for a moment, and I saw the real her flash through. Even in her desperation, she couldn't help herself. I could have been a good grandmother to your children, she said, trying manipulation one more time. Don't you want your kids to have a complete family? I laughed, then really laughed because it was so perfectly Eleanor to try to manipulate me with children I didn't even have. To children, you would have psychologically tortured the way you tortured your own kids, I responded. To babies, you would have compared to Marcus's children with Sophia Never. I wouldn't let you within 100 miles of any child of mine. I heard a car pulling up and smiled. I'd called security when I first saw them on the camera, knowing they'd violate the restraining order by coming here. Two security officers got out and approached us, and I pointed to Marcus and Eleanor. "These two are violating a restraining order," I said calmly. "Please escort them off my property. If they return, call the police immediately." As the security guards moved toward them, Marcus made one last desperate plea. "Claudia, please. We've lost everything. My career is ruined. Mom's been disbarred. We have nothing left. You've won. Isn't that enough? Can't you show some mercy?" I thought about all the nights I'd cried myself to sleep feeling inadequate, all the meals where I'd been compared to Sophia, all the times Marcus had chosen his mother's feelings over my safety and dignity. The night I'd woken up to find my hair destroyed and my husband defending the person who'd done it. "I won," I said quietly. "No, Marcus. I survived. I survived both of you. And now I'm thriving without you. That's not winning. That's justice." Eleanor tried one more time as security led them away. "You'll regret this," she called out, her true nature showing through the facade of remorse. "You'll end up alone and wish you'd forgiven us when you had the chance." "I'm not alone," I called back. "I have real friends, a successful business, a wonderful therapist, and I'm actually seeing someone new. His name is Daniel, and he's kind and respectful and would never ever let his family hurt me. He treats me like a partner, not a project to be fixed." I watched them being put into their cars. Marcus still calling my name, Eleanor. Finally silently defeated. They drove away, and I knew they'd be back eventually. People like them didn't give up easily. But I also knew I'd never let them have power over me again. 1 year later, my life is unrecognizable from those dark days. My business has grown into a full agency specializing in empowering survivors of abuse through digital platforms. I employ 15 people now, many of them survivors themselves, and we've helped hundreds of women and men reclaim their narratives. My hair has grown back to a short professional style that I maintain by choice. Every morning when I style it, I remember that I control my appearance, my choices, my life. No one else gets to decide who I should be or what I should look like. That freedom is worth more than any marriage built on control and manipulation. Daniel and I are taking things slow, but he's shown me what real love looks like. He celebrated when I got my biggest client supports my late work nights without complaint, and when he met his family, they welcomed me without trying to change a single thing about me. His mother actually said she was impressed by my business success and asked for advice about her own website. I still help other women escape toxic situations through my platform. We've created resources for identifying covert abuse, understanding narcissistic in-laws, and recognizing when a partner is complicit in family abuse. The stories that pour in daily remind me that my experience, while horrible, helped shine light on a type of abuse that often goes unrecognized. Sometimes I think about Marcus and Eleanor, wonder if they've actually changed, or if they're just seeking new victims. I heard through Patricia that Marcus is dating someone new, someone young and impressionable, who Eleanor is already trying to mold. I sent the girl an anonymous message with a link to my story, just in case she needs it someday. We all deserve the truth before we're in too deep to see it. The lesson I learned through all of this is simple but powerful. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Don't wait for them to destroy your hair, your self-worth, your entire life before you accept that they mean you harm. And never ever let anyone dim your light just to make themselves more comfortable in their darkness. Your worth isn't determined by those who can't see it. Your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to appreciate you. And sometimes losing everything fake and toxic leads you to finding everything real and nourishing. I lost a husband who betrayed me, and a mother-in-law who abused me, but I gained self-respect, true friends, professional success, and a love that builds me up instead of tearing me down. If you've experienced anything similar, I want you to know that you're not crazy, You're not overreacting, and you deserve better. Trust your instincts when they tell you something is wrong. Document everything. Build your support network. And when the time comes, walk away with your head held high, knowing that you're choosing yourself over anyone who would harm you. To those watching who might be Eleanor or Marcus in someone else's story, I hope you get help. Real help. Not the fake apology tour when you face consequences, but genuine therapeutic intervention to address why you need to control and hurt others. Your victims don't owe you forgiveness, and your targets don't owe you access to their lives. Change because it's right, not because you want your victims back. What would you have done in my situation? Have you ever dealt with a toxic mother-in-law who crossed every boundary or a partner who enabled abuse? Share your story in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories of survival and triumph. Share this with anyone who might need to hear that they're not alone in dealing with family abuse. Thank you for listening to my story, for your support, and for being part of this healing journey. Remember, you are stronger than anyone who tries to break you, and you deserve love that doesn't require you to shrink yourself. Until next time, stay strong, trust yourself, and never let anyone convince you that abuse is love.